Hey everybody, it's Master Gallengeist here, bringing you my review for Fantastic Four issue 31. And this was a pretty good issue. I really liked that this was kind of the first one that we got uh post everything that pretty much fell out with the King in Black. And it's continuing on what we've had before, of course, referencing King in Black, or with what was going on with the Griever. Of course, Franklin dealing with his whole power issues and everything. Valeria dealing with her whole issues, and I really enjoyed this. It did a good job of giving Ben and Reed a kind of like little side venture for themselves to work out their things. Sue and Johnny something to kind of like contend with themselves. A nice scene with Alicia and Ankala, and then we kind of see kind of what happens at the end. So we start off and we see that like Reed's like, all right, I've been waiting weeks for this. Let's do this, Ben. And Ben's like thinking, well, when I thought you wanted to do something, I thought we were just gonna have like beers and go fishing and whatnot. Granted, Reed could do that, but that's never usually his style. So they decided to use the Forever Gate, and we are of course told that there are 2 charges left. So that way they can make a stop, another kind of stop using the Forever Gate, and then go home. That's important, and it is brought up and dealt with what's going on because it causes an issue. So they're doing their thing pretty much early before everybody else is up, and we see Ankala getting up, kind of thinking, "Oh yes, myself, team in bed," kind of thinking about like killing Joe because he's sleeping so peacefully. But she like instead's like maybe tomorrow. Goes in, and Alicia's like, "Well, I was thought we could do something with like sculpting or whatnot," because she wants to do something and kind of pass along her passion and her skills for arts to the kids. And Kala, of course, starts laughing, and not to really hurt her feelings, but because how the Skrulls are shapeshifters, they have to become master sculptors. She shows this by doing pretty much a perfect sculpture impression of Alicia. She's like, "Wow, this is better than even like something I'd do." And she, of course, tells her that she wanted to kind of pass along that kind of thing, but Kala's like, "Well, when I was a youngling, whenever I'd finish up like my maneuvers or whatnot, my training and everything, she'd sneak away and have her little time with the kind of cat, because they catalog different kind of species and creatures, and there was of course the Alicia one that they had, and she would sit there and tell her all her hopes and fears and everything, and that what she's got with Alicia right now is what she'd hoped for, as they're both crying. And I'm like, God damn, that's a really good, powerful thing there. And I'm like, because I didn't know how I'd feel with Ankala and Joe, but they're doing a really good job of integrating them into the Fantastic Four's family and giving them nice character moments like this. I'm like, wow, I understand that these guys have pretty much been child soldiers, pretty much bred from the beginning for those purposes, and then were captured by a dipstick and pretty much forced to fight each other to near death, pretty much almost in perpetuity. And that's a kind of big ass thing to kind of deal with, but then seeing them like here and seeing all this kind of stuff with their own kind of character moments was very nice. We then get kind of like an update of what's going on with Reed and Ben. And of course, Ben's kind of getting bored because Reed's like, "Oh God, look at all this kind of cool stuff. All these kind of like problems of scientists for centuries. I'm figuring out all this data and everything." Of course, Ben's getting bored. He's like, "This would be kind of cool for me if I had like some kind of alien thing to punch." And of course, shit starts kind of coalescing, and we see alien kind of things popping up to kind of fight him. It's like, ah, shit. And Reed starts thinking, okay, thoughts might have a kind of thing here. He's like, "Ben, you wanted this." "Technically, but not really, man." Shit. We also shift and we start seeing what's going on with Bentley and Valeria. And Bentley has gotten the courage to try and confess his feelings to Valeria, but he kind of whiffs at the last minute because he's like, I really like your laboratory. Oh no, this is my lab. This is my bedroom." As we see all this giant shit and science stuff that's going on, and then the bed thing. And he's like, "Oh, funny. I thought there'd be kind of like more girly or whatnot. Like, well, that there'd be some kind of girly things or whatnot." She's like, "Oh, boys, girls, things those distractions are done. I really kind of thanks Prince Arbo for what he did, so I can just focus on science. And Bentley's like, fuck. Well, that's kind of got a problem for me, and that's sticking in my craw. So, all right. See ya. He doesn't really allude to what he's doing. Goes down to the Forever Gate. Goes to Prince Arbo. Whoops his ass. Calls him a tool. Tells him to stay away from Valeria. Goes back home and decides to wipe that travel log out of the records. This is important because, as I said, there were 2 charges that Reed was planning on. So, Reed is good planning for usual kind of stuff, but I don't think he thought of, like, teenage hormones getting to the point of, like, one dude pretty much has to, like, go and throttle a motherfucker for fucking with someone he likes. If that's the case, I'd kind of be like, I'm gonna have to, like, keep, like, 2 backup charges just in case he's, like, tell people, hey, we have 2 charges, when in actuality, we have 4. That's my kind of planning thing, but then again, I'm a cautious motherfucker, and if there's a lot of other people working around, that'd be my thing. No, that's not anything to say that Reed's bad. Actually, he actually had 1 more than he needed for just in case he Holmesy thing kind of thing. Or get out of Dodge and then be able to get home, which actually makes those 2 pretty sensible. Of course, they try and get out, and they're like, fuck, nuts McGee, we don't have any more charges. Well, shit. And of course, it keeps cycling. First, the kind of nondescript alien monsters, then the kind of people that they've been fighting, and then it finally goes to where they're fighting, or they're seeing what was going on with Ben killing Reed. And, of course, Reed was trying to do this and reconnect with Ben and everything like that. But Ben's like, listen, the kind of thing that would bring this on, fishing, beers, kind of a strange interdimensional travel, will not fix this. Even coming to thought space wouldn't fix this. That's something that we'd have to try and figure out. I can't conceive, but of course it's like, oh shit, okay, I know the inner workings of the Forever Gate. I just need you to believe in me and to believe that I can bring this into existence, and boom, they're able to kind of shift on over. Now, while that they have used that thought space Forever Gate to get back, Sue is kind of pissed off, like, hey, where the fuck were you people? It's like, because Reed's like, I don't know if we actually got out of there or if this is still thought space. And Ben's like, I don't think you would kind of like think of Susie with that kind of expression on her face. Yeah, no. So while they were out, Franklin decided to take to the Fantastic car and be like, I'm going to go drive. And Sue's like, no, why? It's like, lockdown for authorized drivers. Who authorized you? The DMV. And he just kind of flies off. She's like, damn it, shit. And of course, Johnny's like, hey, I used to do the same shit. Pops out of nowhere. He's like, yeah, you don't like getting surprised about people, do you? Crazy stalker lady. And I'm like, you do have a very valid point there, Johnny. Which is kind of interesting because I'm like, I agree with Johnny and like calling her out for that, but I understand Sue as being the older sibling of wanting to make sure your brother or sister is safe. But of course he's like, hey, listen, he's just blowing off and trying to like pretty much do his thinking and everything. I used to do that kind of stuff as well. And the thing is, maybe we need to call out some outside help. She's like, maybe you're right. Because we are the Fantastic Four. We usually think we can fix things. And maybe this is something that we can't fix. And we need outside help. So that then lines us back up as they've gotten back into Ben and Reed back into here. They're pretty much talking it over. They bring up Doc Samson and it's like, I don't think that'll work out right. I'm like, I'm glad they brought him up. But he's usually more of a tied in with the whole Gamma kind of psychology stuff, but it would be interesting for him to see other kind of stuff. But of course Ben knows somebody and he's like, good with kids, let's kind of take that kind of approach and see how that kind of works out. Franklin of course is like, oh, you guys must think I'm really screwed up or whatnot, and he's like, there's nothing right or wrong, we're just trying this out to see if this will help you or whatnot. And he's like, and if it doesn't work, then we try something else. And this they're taking him to the code-named hero Trauma. And he's like, all right, Franklin, sorry, just got to takes a little bit for my power to work. Takes on pretty much this thing of like you most fear. So this is really intriguing, and I kind of like this idea of showcasing other superheroes with powers that, granted, he essentially is similar to a Boggart from Harry Potter, but there are still useful superpowers like this. Like, granted, you could just immediately scare somebody on the battlefield and be like, ooga booga booga. I didn't expect a Curse the Cowardly Dog reference at this point, but here we go. And this would be a more effective use of that. He's like, alright, let's kind of see what you're afraid of. Franklin, of course, is thinking of like symbiotes, the Griever, Mephisto, whatnot. And he comes out as actually Franklin. He's like, yeah, well, let's kind of see how this kind of works and tell me what you want to tell this. What you want to tell this form, pretty much. And it's like, yeah, it looks like we got a lot to talk about. And that's kind of where it ends. I'm like, okay, let's kind of see how this works out with Franklin. And the thing is, he could become very annoying, but I have not seen it become annoying yet. He does cycle through the usual kind of teenager kind of shit that we kind of get through, but it hasn't gotten to an annoying point yet. And I'm glad that we're kind of moving into interesting directions with this, because we see him acting as kind of like a typical kind of teenager, and first having godlike powers and then not having those godlike powers and what that kind of entails, and that we're getting good movement out of it rather than your typical, oh, a teenager acting like nobody understands them, and then adults are like, oh, you're just a fucking little whiny ass son of a bitch. Where you've got those two kind of mentalities of adults never understand us and like kids are stupid fucks. There is a better way to do it, and I like that they're doing it this way, because Franklin is not like all the adults are stupid, and all the adults are not like Franklin's just going around sticking his fucking fingers in the light socket. It's a more complex thing than that, and they actually go with nuance and actual character reactions and developments to this. So I'm really excited to see where this kind of goes and what that's going to entail. So those are my thoughts on the issue. Tell me what you guys think in the comments below. If you liked it, if you didn't like it, if you agree with me, if you disagree with me. Also like and subscribe, and I hope you have a good day.